you can do quite creative stuff with AI music.
Sing for us, Desi. Don't be shy.
But then once the AI lays down the track in a 19-tone scale, if you reprogram your keyboard appropriately, you can reprogram your brain to play along with it, right? So it stretches your brain. We've entered the singularity is a little bit of provocation and hype, which obviously Elon Musk is really good at. On the other hand, I think AI is going to keep going exponentially. And
all right, okay, welcome to the BM Crypto Podcast. Now, is the AI boom a genuine technological revolution or a bubble waiting to happen? Which companies will survive? Which ones will crash? Which ones are monetizing enough at the moment to actually make a profit? Now, also, who wins the AI arms race? The US or China? And what even is artificial general intelligence, AGI? When might it show up? And what does it mean for all of us humans? Now, today we're joined by Dr. Ben Goertzel, founder of SingularityNET, the pioneer of AGI, to talk about AI market bubbles, geopolitics, and why he tours with a robot singer named Desdemona. Ben, welcome to Be in Crypto.
happy to be here.
No, thanks, Ben. Now, Elon Musk recently claimed that we're entering the singularity, that moment when AI surpasses human-level intelligence. As the pioneer of the term artificial general intelligence, can you just briefly define AGI and how would we recognize it if it did arrive in this world? And also, if you can, give us your best forecast on when it may emerge.
Yeah, I mean, saying that we've entered the singularity is a little bit of provocation and hype, which obviously Elon Musk is really good at. You know, it's like when you're climbing a mountain, you're like, well, I'm at the top, and you're almost at the top, but you're not actually quite at the top. But if you've been climbing all day, it feels like it. I think on the scale of human history, being a few years away from creating machines much smarter than us, it's amazingly close, right? On the other hand, still right now, we do not have machines that are as smart as people, right? I mean, we are not yet at this moment literally at the technological singularity as, for example, Ray Kurzweil described it, which would be like, you know, your phone is making 25 Nobel Prize level discoveries every second. Like we're not quite there yet, but we are interestingly close, right? And the concept of artificial general intelligence I introduced in 2005 in a book by that name, I mean, is now palpable. It's widely understood. So like a machine that can make leaks of generalization, imagination, invention, the same way that people can beyond its training data. Like we don't have it, but a lot of us think we can see how to build it. And it may be, you know, years, not decades before we get there. So, I mean, super exciting time and super close to a technological singularity, even if I wouldn't agree that we're literally at that point.
Okay. Well, if we're on the cusp of it, on the sort of the span of the civilizational sort of time spans, if we're on the cusp of it, what problems still need to be solved? Is there something like a world modeling problem about how machines actually build an accurate internal representation of reality? Is that the big thing that needs to be solved to reach AGI?
I think Jan LeCun has talked a lot about world modeling. And for those of us who've dealt with robotics, I mean, every mobile robot has a world model built into its software. So, it's not a new idea. Yes, an AGI mind needs a better coherent model of the world than current LLMs have, although I wouldn't say world modeling is like the one magical missing ingredient. Actually, I think a world model is something that a mind builds in the course of doing what it needs to do, and it's sort of distributed across a bunch of different aspects of a mind, rather than being like you build a world model, drop it into your AI, and suddenly it becomes smart. I would say overall, large language models, which are the primary face of AI to the everyday public now, I mean, they're super cool. They're doing a lot of things. I'm a major user of them, like almost everyone else in the developing world now, in the developed world now, rather. But I mean, they're not going to be turned into AGIs just by making them bigger and bigger or tweaking them a little bit. On the other hand, they're very valuable tools that we can use to help accelerate creation of AGIs. And certainly an LLM can be one component among others in an AGI mind. I think to make an AGI that can generalize and imagine and leap beyond its history at the level that people can, or even better, I mean, you need a lot of things that LLMs don't have. You need the system to have its own motivations and goals,
Right.
and to be choosing actions it thinks will help it achieve its goals. I mean, you need the system to be doing sort of ongoing background thinking and chewing things over and over, even when someone's not immediately asking a question, right? I mean, you need the system to be keeping a memory of its life history and who it is, so it has some understanding of who it is and who you are that it's talking to. I mean, there's a whole bunch of missing ingredients, and I mean, you need a system to be representing knowledge in some way other than sequences of words. Like predicting the next word is not really the only thing that intelligence needs to do. So there's a whole lot of things that are not there in LLMs that you need in an AGI, and world modeling is one such capability for sure. On the other hand, none of these things are really new in the AI field, and there's been cognitive architectures that have all these ingredients that the mind needs to have in the AI field for a long time, but they haven't been, run at the scale that modern LLMs have been. So I think what's going to happen in the next few years is a whole bunch of architectures and learning and reasoning algorithms that have been around in the AI field for some time. They're going to be deployed at scale for the first time during the next couple years, and then we're going to see a whole lot of new capabilities come into play. Because, I mean, the core ideas underlying LLMs are not that new either. What happened was they were deployed at scale for the first time in the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Just talking about these different components, like the LLM component and the other components you described, are they all kind of algorithmic? Are they all sort of, are there any other sort of systems that need to go into this? Like you talked about, like potentially the AI has to have a type of reflection about who it is, maybe potential memories and stuff like that. Does it have to be embodied in like an actual sensory, like human-like structure that it can kind of become aware and test things? Is that one of the steps?
So to name a couple other algorithms you can use, I mean, you can have a module that does nothing but form new concepts, right? You can have a reasoning engine that does logical inference. You can do that with a neural net, or you can do that with a structured logic engine. There's something called evolutionary learning that tries to learn new things by emulating the process of natural selection, and that's very creative. So it's trying to evolve wild new things that haven't been there before. You can use evolutionary learning to evolve neural networks, or you can use evolutionary learning to evolve computer programs, right? So there's a variety of different algorithms and structures that have been used in the AI field historically. Most of them haven't been deployed at huge scale like transformer neural nets have inside LLMs, but in the next year or two, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be deploying a bunch of these other AI techniques at large scale. And I think that self-modeling, world modeling, self-modification, these are not modules that are drop in. These are functionalities that emerge when you put a bunch of different AI algorithms, learning and reasoning together within an appropriate cognitive architecture. Now, whether that cognitive architecture needs to be embodied is an interesting question. I know Pei Wang, an AGI researcher who's been a good friend of mine for decades, he wrote a paper a couple of decades ago called "A Laptop is a Body." So meaning that, I mean, yes, AI needs sensory data from the world, and yes, AI needs to impact the world, and you need to learn from how your actions impact the world. That doesn't mean you need a human-like body, right? I mean, it just means you need to be interfacing with the world somehow. On the other hand, a human-like body is extremely valuable if you want to build a human-like understanding, right? And so I think if we want AGIs that can empathize with what it is to be human and understand our human lives well, giving these AGIs human-like bodies is a plus. right? But on the other hand, the internet itself is a kind of body with many sensors and actuators associated with it. And I see no reason why a system whose body is all the computers all around the internet couldn't get a very high level of general intelligence. It might just be a different flavor of general intelligence than you get in the humanoid robot body.
Yeah, like, but the humanoid robot body, I suppose, like when you look at science fiction and things like that, that's the immediate image that people get in their minds about like artificial intelligence and robots and things like that. Things that can kind of do the
GPT, then people just have their phone in mind, right?
Well, yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, like it is. That's what it actually is. At this moment in time, but I suppose machines in factories and XYZ took on a lot of like human labor, from the Industrial Revolution onwards. But ChatGPT is kind of a crutch for our mental labor. Like everyone's using it. Nobody's really taking the time that they used to really construct things because of it mentally, to say if it's a written piece of work or something like that, because it's efficient just to use ChatGPT to kind of skip and speed things up. Do you see these crutches as being detrimental long-term to human agency, creativity, and or do you see it like helping us in a way that we kind of use it as a tool? Is a tool that can benefit, but it can also kind of be long-term detrimental to our creativity and agency?
I don't think AI tools are necessarily detrimental to our creativity and agency at that level. I mean, I think you can be very, very creative using modern AI tools, and you can be very uncreative using a pencil and paper, right? And that has to do more with what's in your mind than with the tool. So I mean, I think there's amazing new creative possibilities opened up by AI tools. Certainly, like my daughter Shahrazad and I are working on an anime, right? I mean, she's a great artist. She's hand drawing the character art, but I mean, we wouldn't have the time or resources to make an anime if you didn't have various generative AI tools to help. So in ways like that, it can open up creativity quite a lot, but it all depends how you use it, right? Like in that case, we've gone through a bunch of work to get her hand-drawn character art, used by the generative AI making videos. If you don't care about that and you just prompt all the characters, it will come up with very boring, cliche-looking characters. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential for creativity. There's also potential to do boring things. But, I mean, honestly, that's always been the case. Like, I mean, if you look in music, most musicians will play very boring repetitions of what they've heard many times before. And a few will do something wild and new. And that's the case with the acoustic guitar or the bongo drums, just like it is with AI generative music tools. I think the economic and social impacts on creativity in some ways are more troubling, but I think they'll also be quite temporary. I mean, large music and image and language models they're plagiarizing everyone's creative work in a way that makes it even harder for creative workers to make money. So, I mean, they may not stop you from doing creative stuff, but they may make it harder for you to pay your rent by doing creative stuff. And that's a different question. On the other hand, if we get a full-on singularity, that will obsolete most of the money economy anyway, right? So which means that that's more a transitional issue, and that's a complex transitional issue. Like which ways of making money are rendered difficult by AI first. I mean, it's still a problem in people's everyday life, even if 3 years from now, every way of making money is rendered difficult by AI.
Is it? Do you look at these massive changes that are going to impact society in the terms of years rather than decades at this moment in time?
I think we could get a human level AGI in 2 or 3 years from now. I mean, yeah, I don't rule out it could happen this year, like Dario Amadei or Elon have at various points said, because as the ability of AI to generate code gets better and better, the software development process speeds up. But right now, AI can't do software engineering, really. You can generate little bits of code. Like vibe coding is a thing. Vibe engineering barely semi-works. So, I mean, so if we don't get some revolution in AI, helping to speed up AI development. It will be unlikely to happen this year, but yeah, could it happen 2 or 3 years from now? We're going to break through to AGI. Seems very plausible to me. Of course, once I get a human level AGI running on my server farm or my decentralized AI network, that doesn't immediately overtake the world economy within 5 minutes, right? I mean, there's still a bunch of practical work needed for a human level AGI to turn itself into a human level AGI global infrastructure. But again, that feels like itself a couple of years of transition or something, not decades of transition, right? Like you think, okay, the AGI thinks about how to make a better robot, but still maybe it needs a better factory for that. So it thinks about how to make a better factory. So it thinks about how to make a better robot to build that better factory. But even with all the AGI mind there, I mean, there's a bunch of physical stuff to be done, right? So, I mean, there is some friction in a super AI transforming the whole world economy, but that could plausibly be just a couple more years after you have the initial human level AGI there. And again, when you see how good AIs already are at math and programming, it's pretty clear a human level AGI will be able to rewrite its code into a superhuman level AGI, not 2 years after it achieves human level general intelligence. So, I mean, I think we plausibly are like 2, 5, 7 years away from like full on revolutionizing of everything, which indeed is kind of an instant in the history of the whole species. But yet, from the standpoint of my life, what happens during those 5 years means something to me. Like even at age 59, 5 years is still a while, right?
Okay, well, Ben, two things. One is you don't look 59 at all. I'm very surprised that you said that. So that's number one. Number two, as in you look younger. Two is you mentioned there about the infrastructure. Obviously, this AI will have to affect changes physically in the real world. Now, one of the big worries is that if an AGI is controlled centrally by like a closed corporate, privately, say like a private company, like that is a worry. But obviously, this is getting into the question about decentralized AI for public good versus centralized closed system AI. Now, I think I know which side you are on, or maybe not, but would you like to sort of expand on that?
Yeah,
which
sure.
way you think it's going to go?
I'm hoping it goes the open and decentralized way, and that's what I'm working toward. The first thing I would say is I think our odds of success as a species are pretty high one way or the other. Like I'm not that worried that big companies or governments are going to build a super AI that will murder us all. We totally can't rule that out, but I mean, neither Xi Jinping nor Putin nor Trump wants to annihilate the human species, right? I mean, and big companies want to make a lot of money for themselves, but they want to do it by selling products to customers and pumping up their share price and so forth. So, I mean, I think in the end, probably even if AGI is developed by big companies working with big governments, there's a lot we all have in common as a species, right? And I mean, in the end, I think we're most likely going to get a beneficial singularity, and we will have a very nice life with superhuman AIs, inviting us to mind upload into the transhuman world and dropping molecular assemblers in our backyards with drones so we can 3D print whatever we want. So I'm overall an optimist. I do think the transitional period, like between now and when you get a super intelligence, that transitional period may come out quite differently depending on how the rollout happens and who's in control of it. And in the big picture, I mean, the super AIs may look back on that and think it didn't matter too much how that transitional period went. It may make a big difference to those of us on the ground here right now. So as one example, I mean, once AIs can do most human jobs, I imagine there will be universal basic income in some flavor rolled out in the developed world. Now, who gives UBI in the Congo, in the Central African Republic, in Afghanistan, right? I mean, we don't see much appetite for that in the developed world now. So if there's a 5-year period when there's no way for people to make any money in the developing world. I mean, that's a glitch on the path of our species' transcendence to superintelligence. It's a very bad glitch if you're the one who can't feed your kids, who can't buy antibiotic for your strep throat or something, right? So I mean, and within the developed world, like if you have a few years where the only ones with AGI are like ICE and the U.S. military, and ordinary people don't have it, right? I mean, this can be quite bad, right? I mean, so I mean, I think even though I'm an optimist about the singularity, I think the transitional period to the singularity can be much smoother if AI is owned and controlled by the whole species rather than just a few parties with their own particular interests. And I would also say we don't know that the singularity will come out beneficially no matter what. That's sort of my emotional feeling. But I mean, it could be that if you start the singularity with a kind, loving, compassionate AGI versus if you start it with an AGI whose only goal is to make some company richer and some country more powerful, I mean, maybe that does make a difference for what kind of super intelligence you get. Like, we really know.
Yeah, no,
Or
I know what you mean.
maybe
But
there
still,
isn't a beneficial, loving mind attractor you're going to converge to. So just to be on the safe side, why don't we make the first AGI be kind and loving and want to help everyone rather than make it just want to serve certain parties to the exclusion of others? Right? It would seem like the safer route to take, given the amount of uncertainty involved.
Well, yeah, especially if we're in a precarious situation where we're reliant on this AGI to basically give us the universal basic income and things like that. Like, what if it just decides to stop that one day? We're basically giving the control of our future to a machine, and it seems like a precarious situation to be in. But then again, there's lots of arguments.
You have the U.S. government now saying the definition of a responsible AI is one that will help us wage war against our enemies. And I mean, this was Pete Hegseth a couple of days ago here in the U.S. Is this the mindset that you want the Singularity launching AGI to have? It's not the one that I want the Singularity launching AGI to have. Opinions may differ, right?
Yeah, well, here, look, in terms of decentralized AI, decentralized ASI, hopefully decentralized AI marketplaces, can we talk about ASI Alliance, the FET token? Like, where does that fit in to this whole discussion?
To get a beneficial AGI with the highest odds, there's a few pretty obvious things you want to do. I mean, you want to build an AGI with an architecture that allows moral agency, like an architecture where the AI understands who and what it is, understands who and what you are, and is architected to have compassion toward you. I mean, this is not what LLMs are now doing. They're just architected to say they have compassion toward you, but they have no actual understanding or emotion or empathy or whatever. So you want an architecture that's able to be a moral agent. You want to raise up this system doing mostly beneficial things, helping people, like doing education, doing healthcare, helping with mental health issues. And for sure, helping people do their jobs better is good too. Helping sell people junk they don't need or kill people probably isn't the main thing you want your AGI to be doing while it grows up. But the other thing is, you would like the ownership and control of the AGI system not to be pathological, right? You would like it to be owned and controlled by a significant swath of the species that is creating it and that stands to benefit from it or otherwise. And that comes down to decentralized ownership and control. And I think Linux is a good model there. The internet itself is a good model there. Like, the internet analytics are resources that are owned and controlled by everyone and no one, and they're developed in a lot of directions by a lot of different parties, and they work, and they're more safe and secure than most centralized and proprietary things, right? So you want AGI to be rolled out like spiritually in the vein of Linux or the internet rather than closed proprietary systems. And this is a little more complicated than merely building an internet or an operating system, because you made this live, ever-changing, ever-evolving system to be decentralized in its deployment and operation, not just its source code. And that's what we're building in Singularity and ASI Alliance, right? So we built a decentralized AI platform called SingularityNET. Our partners Fetch built their own Fetch AI decentralized platform. We've learned a lot from these. We're now building something new and better called the ASI chain, which is, I believe, a decentralized AI platform suitable to serve for AGI and superintelligence. So it's like one layer of the architecture. You got the internet, then you have the ASI chain, then you need AI systems running on top of it, which can be neural nets. It can be a framework I have called Hyperon that we're building within SingularityNet. Then on top of that AGI platform, Hyperon, which runs on the ASI chain, which runs on the internet, then you need various applications, right? And so we're trying to build a whole open, decentralized tech stack so that we can have the Singularity launched in a way that's not locked inside the proprietary data center of some big company in some particular country.
Well, talking about those centralized data centers and the, I suppose, the Mag 7 companies or the Nvidia and other different big companies that are rolling out new chips, new hardware, and then there's the software companies like OpenAI and things like that. Now, since late 2022, there's been a lot of investment in AI. It's just exploded. But sort of famous investors like Michael Burry are reportedly shorting Nvidia on these bubble concerns. Do you think there's an AI bubble at the moment? Do you think it's kind of like teetering on into like precarious zone?
I mean, I think LLMs have been overhyped a bit, and Nvidia has been overhyped a bit in the sense that their chips aren't really that much better than AMD or than Samsung or everybody else's. So, I mean, there's some overhyping of particular technologies. On the other hand, I think AI is going to keep going exponentially. And if you go back to Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near, that he published in 2005, the same year I published the first book on AGI. One point that Ray makes is that the exponential curve of rapid growth, when you zoom in, it's a bunch of sort of S curves layered on top of each other.
Okay.
Any one technology is slow to start, zooms up for a while, then plateaus. But then another technology zooms up for a while and then plateaus. Right? And so I mean, you see that in every technology domain. I mean, yes, LLMs have zoomed up for a while. They may be plateauing, but then some other AI technology will zoom up for a while until that plateaus, and some other one will zoom up for a while. What I'm working on is my own guess at what will be the next thing that zooms up and then plateaus in the Hyperon project. But what Jan Kuhn is working on is his world modeling thing. He thinks will zoom up and then plateau. The decentralized AI platform is sort of agnostic to what is the AI technology, right? So we can run LLMs on there. We can run my Hyperon system on there. We could run Jan's world modeling thing on the same decentralized platform. So yeah, I mean, in terms of what to invest in, I mean, I'm not going to opine on whether Nvidia is overvalued or not, but I would say that compute hardware for AI on the whole is going to keep getting more and more and more valuable.
And sorry, just could you really, to the total layperson, me basically, could you explain the Hyperon system? Is there a few sentences that you could just describe how it differs from
other? I mean, so there's something called a formal neural network, which began as a very crude approximation of how the brain works. And that underlies ChatGPT and all the big AI systems out there now. But it's not the only way to do things. So what we do in Hyperon, we don't really try to model the brain at that level. We have a different sort of dynamic knowledge graph living in memory, which has different items of knowledge sort of linked to each other in a variety of different ways that don't all have to resemble how the brain works. We have this big knowledge graph of different knowledge items connected to each other, living in RAM on a machine and across many machines. This knowledge graph like revises and improves itself. It can run formal neural nets like the one under ChatGPT, It can also run like logic engines that try to prove things by formal logic. It can also run evolution engines. So we'll take a whole bunch of different AI methods. We put them in this one big in-RAM knowledge graph, and we let it kind of self-organize itself to achieve its goals.
Okay.
And we just, in the last few months, we finally got this infrastructure working at large scale after multiple years of work. So we're now in a phase of like trying to scale up all our different AGI algorithms to run in lots of RAM with a bunch of machines. So sort of like happened in LLMs, like between GPT-2 and GPT-3, they were just scaling things up a lot. So we're in that phase now. We're scaling up these different AI mechanisms.
Are we going to see a launch? Are we going to how would people use this and when?
So this is open source code. Many of the components are there, but they're sort of back-end components. And so it's more like Linux or something. There's many flavors of Linux. There's a lot of back-end tools, but then you have launch of a particular Linux version or something, right? So yeah, we will be launching a series of products based on Hyperon. For example, there's a product called Questor we're working on, which is a research assistant and a personal assistant. So we will launch the first version of that product, I think, sometime later this year, and that runs on Hyperon and ASI chain on the back end. Now, we also have a little robot called the Mind Child. There's a company called Mind Children, which spun off from SingularityNET, and that little robot will also use Hyperon on the back end inside its own mind. So Hyperon is sort of a back end AI technology, and then there will be a series of products leveraging it running on Hyperon, which itself runs on the ASI chain decentralized stack.
Okay. Actually, on the subject of robots, I see you were on the road there with Desdemona's Dream. Could you explain to me?
Like, that's right.
Desdemona is a robot and she sings in the band. Is this all like pre-recorded, pre-programmed? Like, can she improvise? Has she ever surprised you with any impromptu flair, for instance?
Yeah, there's a mix, right? So there's some things that are, I mean, it's all AI generated. It's generated by various AI neural models for the lyrics that she gives and the voice and the emotional intonation. And some of that has been generated in advance, and then some modifies itself on the fly during the performance. And I think by the end of this year or so, we should be able to do it all generated on the fly. That's really a matter of just how fast the model inference goes. And yes, the robot surprises me all the time with its responses to what happens musically.
Yeah.
And that's really been the fun of it, because just as a musician, which is really a hobby I've had for a long time, right? Just playing by myself in my living room on the keyboard or playing with a band is a different feeling, because you have this back and forth with the other musicians, right? And having a back and forth with a robot is a quite different feeling. And I mean, she will say different stuff than what a person would do, and sometimes with a different timing than a person would do too. And you're like, what the fuck is this? 37:19 time? Like, what time is the literature is this thing actually in, right?
Well, you see, this has probably been the creativity that, you said. My original question was, it could be like we're using it as a crutch. It could be detrimental to creativity. But I suppose you reacting and you seeing these new creative, I don't know, time beats or something, or reactions that she has, then you can probably take that and then you can expand on it. And do you think that's where the creativity comes?
Yeah. It's very creative. I mean, even a tool like Udio or something, which is a commercial product for music generation, if you just give it a text prompt, then it will come up with some cliche thing out of that text prompt. But Udio also takes a melody prompt. So if I compose some really weird thing, feed it in as a melody prompt, Udio will come up with some other really weird thing. I can then save that, extract some of the stems and loop it and use it as a rhythm for a song. So I mean, even tools that will generate boring cliche by default, if you use them in a creative way, you can get quite cool stuff that you wouldn't have gotten before, right? And so with the robot, the same way. I mean, we could you could make a robot bend in a very boring way that would probably be more popular and become a pop star more rapidly, or you can use it in your progressive jazz, progressive rock fusion band and come up with quite fun, creative stuff that meets a non-zero but niche audience. And again, that's the same as before AI. People can do boring stuff as it hits a big audience, that it doesn't, or you can do weird stuff if you feel like it.
It reminds me, because you were saying people have been doing that before. So I heard that David Bowie used to get like tons and tons and tons of words, cut them all up, and kind of just throw them all up, and they would all fall on a table. And that's how he would come up with like different connections.
Yeah, that methodology was invented by William Burroughs, the writer.
Yes, by Burroughs, yeah. And then you're right.
Right, and Bowie poured it into music.
Yeah, and then I think Bowie then went and asked somebody, could I get a really early day in the 1980s computer program that would do this for him? So then he sort of just churned out a lot of words that way and started getting new connections and stuff like that. So I'm looking at what you're doing as a kind of next step in that human to kind of randomized machine interaction. Would I be right in that? Is that something that you think is happening there? Because it is randomized.
One among many things that's happening, but I think, there's a lot of interesting avenues to follow, and that's one of them. So, I mean, just as a random example of another avenue, like AI algorithms are very good at generating music in different scales. So most music is on a 12-tone scale, but you can do like 19-tone scale, 19 EDO division of the octave. And I mean, that's hard to retrain your brain for 19 notes instead of 12. AI has no big issue with it, right? So, I mean, you can do quite creative stuff with AI music, but then once the AI lays down the track in a 19-tone scale, if you reprogram your keyboard appropriately, you can try to reprogram your brain to play along with it, right? So it stretches your brain in ways that could have been done before computers, but would be so laborious that you wouldn't bother, right? So, I mean, there are many, and that's not randomizing things. That's a different form of structure that was always there, and it was just too much work to milk it from a musical point of view before you had AI tools to help.
Well, no, it does sound kind of like we could get the next major genre in music. We had obviously you had rock and roll, and then you had, I suppose, like a lot of different things happen, maybe punk and maybe hip hop and stuff like that. But I don't think there's really
a question of musical culture. Yeah, whether there will be a next major genre or like 100 different major genres, right? Because there hasn't been a new major genre for a while. But lack of musical creativity, just because things are fractionated so much into teeny little sub genres, right? So I mean, maybe AI will lead to 10,000 more wildly different subgenres, or maybe there'll be one big thing that comes out of it, and it's going to be interesting to see. It doesn't. But if there's 10,000 new AI generated subgenres, and 9,000 of them are boring and cliche, that's not really the AI's fault. That's because of how the people are choosing to use the AI and what people prefer to listen to, right?
Well, that's it. Like, people probably gravitate around one, and then maybe it will become popular or something like that. So what's the audience reaction been? I kind of want to know, right? You're touring, you have a robot singing. Does it turn people off, or do people actually get it in the audience?
It varies, and it's very interestingly depending on the audience. And it's actually been instructive to see how different audiences react, right? So, I mean, if you're performing like at the conference party of a tech event in Silicon Valley, I mean, people like robots, and they just think it's cool, and the reaction is always positive, right? Now, we did a few gigs over the summer warming up for Macy Gray, the pop and the soul funk singer, just because she's a sort of a personal friend. I've known Macy for a while. We were introduced by Nefertiti Strong, a rapper I know who's also into AI. Now, the first gig we did with Macy, we almost got booed off the stage. Not I'm exaggerating, but like a lot of the audience was like, "What the hell is this robot? Get out of here!" Right? So then, the following gigs on that tour, instead of letting the robot open up, I like give a little speech first and explained, like, well, I'm a friend of Macy. She's always been into AI and advanced technology, where we're kind of exploring cool things you can do with AI and music. And then, she thought it would be cool to have us bring the robot to play in one of her shows. And this is not about robots replacing human musicians. It's about robots jamming along and exploring new human AI frontiers. And then I found after that framing, the audience was happy and kind of swayed along and got into the music. And it was partly about connecting it with Macy, who they were there to see, and letting them know that she had invited us rather than like the venue shoving these weird balls in the way of seeing who they came to see. It was also about reassuring them that we were into like shared human AI creativity rather than the AI fucking over human musicians, right? So it seemed like the mindset that people had going into it made a really big difference. And if you could kind of guide that in the right way, then people just thought the robot was cool. And that was interesting because it was a different, like Macy Gray audience was a different group of people than I normally interact with.
Yeah, well, no, people are, I suppose, worried about some kind of like being made redundant, humans and stuff like that. So you're touring just in California, or are you going to do around the world, or are you going to ever bring it to London?
We haven't done a major world tour so far. I mean, not due to lack of interest from audience, just because I'm trying to build a thinking machine, which takes a lot of time. And like, our saxophonist is also working for SNET. Our lead guitarist has his own music company in Cantio, right? So we're a bunch of us have day jobs that we consider rather important. We did a U.S. West Coast tour with Macy. We may come to Europe to do some music festivals over the summer. Yeah, we'll see. But we also have been in the studio. So our first album is going to launch in March, and we've done enough studio stuff for a second and third album after that already. After the Singularity, we're going to do a major world tour, because then the AI will be coding all the AI, and I won't need to do it anymore.
Yeah. Like, well, that's only in a couple of years' time. So yeah. But before that, that'll be good. Right? Okay, yeah, good to see us in London, maybe at some stage. Well, here, look, keep us posted about what's going on about the album and about everything else, because honestly, Ben, it's been a real pleasure chatting to you. Like, we covered lots of stuff there, and I think we managed to cover most of it. So thank you very much, and thank you for coming on the BM Crypto Podcast.